So, this dedication ceremony for Kathleen, for Jim, and for Jaron is really the culmination of several years of rigorous study and practice and application, with the dedicated guidance of their truly gifted teacher, Reverend Teresa Fieberts. Reverend Teresa lovingly guided them through all of the process, and she started them on the journey because she started them with the very first class 5 years ago. But who's counting? But Reverend Teresa lovingly challenged them and supported them and led them from their very beginning, that very first class, when they were not even sure that this was going to be the journey, took them right up through the completion of their advanced studies. And it has been my joy to witness their magnificent evolution, spiritually and personally, to walk beside them and witness some of the challenges, some of the things that we faced together, just being part of this beautiful process of authentic evolving into a greater spiritual experience and spiritual example. I could say so much more about them, but in the interest of time today, I will keep it to a minimum because I think it's all summed up in the words of St. Francis of Assisi, who said, "At all times preach the gospel, and only if necessary, use words." Only if necessary, use words. That is what our practitioners exemplify. They walk the talk. They are an example of everything that you've heard this morning, everything that they talk about, everything that they've been trained to do and to know. They walk it. They're examples of kindness, of authenticity, of generosity, of integrity, of service, and most of all, of a high, clear spiritual consciousness. I'll say that in another way, of a high, clear spiritual perspective. So we're so fortunate to have these practitioners expanding their role in leadership and service and ministry for our center. And I am beyond thrilled and honored to have them as my partners in serving you and to be acknowledging them today. And so with that, I'd like to invite Jaron and Jim and Kathleen up here for the dedication ceremony. Well, let's see, we got to have eye contact here. Have them in order, that's right. Well, all right, then it's going to be Kathleen and then Jim and Jaron. Should we do the choreography? You, Kathleen, come on over here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There we go. That's okay. You know that's the most important part.
I have to be the thorn between the two rows.
Yeah.
This part was not in the study.
No, it wasn't, was it? Oh, my. Okay, so Kathleen and Jim and Jaron, each of you has followed your heart and has answered your calling to be an instrument of spirit as a spiritual practitioner. So today we honor the sacred path that you've chosen and your commitment to be in sacred service to International Centers of Spiritual Living and also to our Center for Spiritual Living, Sarasota, by living fully the principles of religious science that we teach. Being a licensed practitioner of religious science is a sacred obligation. It's a journey of love and a dedication of all the aspects of your being. So, do you promise to uphold the principles of religious science in everything you say, do, and everything you are?
I do.
Do you promise to live in conscious awareness of your own divinity and the divinity of others?
I do.
Do you dedicate yourselves to hold inviolate the confidentiality and the identity of those who come to you for assistance, unless you receive their express permission to do otherwise?
I do.
Do you promise to abide by the International Centers of Spiritual Living Practitioner Code of Ethics?
I do.
Do you dedicate yourselves to the discipline of regular prayer so that you may expand the spiritual expression of your life in loving service?
I do.
And do you dedicate yourselves to behold the divine perfection in all who may call upon you?
I do.
Do you dedicate yourselves to serve whomever may call upon you in time of need?
I do.
Do you dedicate yourselves to a constant recognition of the one Spirit within all people, regardless of race, gender, faith, orientation, or station in life?
I do.
Will you continue to study and expand your consciousness that you may be more effective in this, your chosen practice?
I do.
To the best of your ability, will you minister to the needs of humanity?
I will.
All right. So I'm going to move this over a little bit. I now charge you, Kathleen Frankert, to go forth as a light in this world, a spiritual practitioner whose example and practice serve as a healing presence to all who come to you for prayer and spiritual support. And I'm going to, with that, give you your stole. I'll have to turn around a little bit. There we go. And present you with your certificate, which says, and I will read Kathleen's, and all of them are the same, so I won't read each one. From the Centers for Spiritual Living, be it known through its Leadership Council, by virtue of the authority in it vested, has authorized and hereby grants the recognition of Practitioner of Religious Science to Kathleen Frankert, with all honors, privileges, and obligations thereto appertaining. This recognition is made at Golden, Colorado, and is in full force and effect on the 22nd day of June, 2019. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jim Grove, I now charge you to go forth as a light in this world, a spiritual practitioner whose example and practice serve as a healing presence to all who come to you for prayer and spiritual support. I'll present you with your certificate. And Jaron Nelson, I now charge you to go forth as a light in this world, a spiritual practitioner whose example and practice serve as a healing presence to all who come to you for prayer and spiritual support. And now let's join in prayer, in knowing all the magnificence that is exemplified by these beautiful practitioners. I know there is only one power and one presence, one life, one love, one intelligence, one wisdom, in, as, and through this universe, always. And it expresses as each one of us. It expresses as each one of our beloved practitioners, Kathleen and Jim and Jaron. And I know it is with joy and yet with humility, with eager anticipation, and with dedication that these three move forward in their chosen calling, this sacred journey to be of service, each in their unique way. Each of them is truly an instrument of spirit, and we are so blessed to have them among us, with us, supporting us. Their presence is immeasurable. And so I know now from this day forward, even though the process has been going on for some time as they have been evolving, from this day forward, it is a new chapter in their journey and in our journey together as Spirit expressing. And I know that each step of the way, they are guided. They are given strength. They are given wisdom as they face the challenges and the questions and the issues that will arise as people come to them for support and spiritual guidance. Always it is Spirit expressing through them, reaching and touching the souls of all who are in their presence. So for all of this and for these beautiful people, I give great thanks now as we celebrate them, and we let it be so, for so it is.
So it is.
Okay.
Good morning, and thanks for being here to witness and support us as we make the official step into being spiritual practitioners in this wonderful Center for Spiritual Living, Sarasota, that means so much to all of us. Reverend Karen asked each of us to share for a few minutes about our journey to becoming a practitioner, and it struck me that it was like asking me to talk about my latest travel adventure. I'm fortunate that when I go places and see new things, I always come back feeling so filled up, and I always say it's wonderful. And I want to tell everybody everything that we did, everything that I saw, everything that I ate, But I realized that sometimes, if I went too far, I could see eyes glazing over and people trying to find an exit. So I'm not going to go into all of the detail. And in truth, we can only really share so much about a uniquely personal experience like travel or training to become a licensed spiritual practitioner. But in many ways, practitioner training was, for me, like travel to a foreign country that was as close as my breath and heartbeat. Because it's a deep, soulful journey to the God within. But it's not always a straight path with seamless connecting flights. Instead, what you get to encounter is a life at its richest and most exhilarating, while also at times experiencing the questions and trepidations that can come from venturing into uncharted territory. And for those challenging times, I was especially grateful to have the expert guidance of my teacher, Reverend Teresa Feeberts, and the support and encouragement of my fellow travelers, Jim and Jaron, as well as my other beloved classmates. But most of all, I've benefited from the role modeling, mentoring, and just ongoing support of Reverend Karen, who has been just a light and a support every step of the way, especially when I was most fearful and most questioning. So thank you so much for that. So now, although this licensing and installation ceremony says that we've arrived, I really can't help but think that this sacred journey has really just begun. And that's not just for us as practitioners. It's also a beginning for you as members and friends of the Center for Spiritual Living Sarasota. Because as practitioners, we can't do our work without you. We don't make this spiritual pilgrimage just to get a closer relationship with the God of our understanding, or to develop a more deeply ingrained spiritual practice, or to read a lot of really great, soulful, thought-provoking, interesting books. We did all that and more. We become practitioners to give it all away to you. You could think of us as your awesome tour guides who know some of the best places to visit, explore, and enjoy the indescribable yet totally accessible terrain of oneness. Sometimes that will be during Sunday services. We'll conduct meditations, we'll do readings, we'll even present Sunday talks. Other times we'll be available to you after the Sunday service for one-on-one affirmative prayer support. We call that miracle moments. We will be presenting classes and workshops and discussion groups and things that we probably haven't even cooked up or thought of yet, because that's the way Spirit works. And we'll also be available for 1-hour individual sessions when we can provide personalized spiritual guidance and affirmative prayer support. And I just want to mention quickly about affirmative prayer. It's also called spiritual mind treatment. And this is an essential tool for practitioners where we join you in consciousness, knowing the highest and best in whatever challenge you may be facing. We affirm the answer already exists in the one mind and is available without delay. Be assured that we do any of the spiritual work, that as we do it, we come from the profound territory of love, compassion, and always utmost confidentiality. So now this passage to something new and sacred begins. It is a profound honor to be a spiritual tour guide in this community. I can't wait to see how we learn, grow, and discover together. I bet it will be wonderful. Thank you.
So, many of you may be asking why we chose to become practitioners, why it's such a big deal, and what it means for our center and for you personally. I can understand, because I didn't really have a good idea myself when I began this journey 5 years ago. In retrospect, though, I can see that my spiritual journey began much earlier. I always felt a call to spiritual matters, even as a small child. Throughout my youth and young adult life, I answered Spirit's call by taking an active role in the Lutheran Church and even considered entering the ministry in some capacity. Well, that didn't work out. But I continued to be active in the Lutheran Church for many years, along with my husband, Robert, until we answered Spirit's call and began a quest to find a more spiritually centered teaching. And on Mother's Day, 1994, we attended the Center for Positive Living for the first time, and after hearing our own Reverend Karen speak, we knew we had found our spiritual home with religious science. Thank you. I have to pause, though, and give a shout-out to my best friend from high school, Cindy Moran, who tried valiantly to introduce me to religious science more than 30 years ago when she gave me a Science of Mind magazine and told me I should check it out. I'd like to honor her now because she's here with us today. Cindy, would you raise your hand? Thank you so much for seeing that I was ready for this teaching long before I did. But as we all know, the student has to be ready before the teacher can appear. Fast forward to 2014, when Teresa Fieberts, now Reverend Teresa Fieberts, had a vision of taking a group of students through the entire multi-year course of study leading to licensing as professional practitioners. I remember feeling Spirit's call again as an inward nudge and combined with Reverend Teresa's contagious energy, I found myself saying yes. Prior to that, I remember feeling that we needed to have more practitioners at our center because after the passing of Reverend Karen's dear husband, Erwin, Teresa was the only one. At that time, all I really knew about practitioners was that they prayed for people after Sunday service. As I was to learn over the next 5 years, this is only a fraction of what it means to be a practitioner. Practitioners contribute in profound ways to their center, and you're about to experience the many benefits of having 3 practitioners on staff here. Not only do we pray with people after Sunday services, we pray for all the written prayer requests submitted on Sunday morning and through our center's website. We lead the pre-service meditations on Sunday morning and hold high consciousness during Sunday services. We partner with Reverend Karen in planning special services such as this, and we lead spiritual living circles, teach classes, organize book study groups, and develop other special programs and activities that engage the spiritual community. We can also officiate at celebration of life services and home blessings. And if we simultaneously are active notaries, we can perform marriage ceremonies. Finally, and very importantly, we have our own professional practices where we offer spiritual guidance and support to clients who are seeking to change limiting beliefs in order to have a richer, more fulfilling experience of life. Many times over the past 2 years of intensive study, I felt overwhelmed from all the reading, homework, term papers, and final exams while continuing to work full-time. Whenever I felt that overwhelm, I had to go within and ask if this was really all worth it, and was this something I was really being called to do? Well, as you've probably already guessed, since I'm standing here in front of you, dedicating myself to this sacred service, indeed it was all absolutely worth it. And I'm so glad that I said yes to Spirit's call 5 years ago, and now I have the honor of serving this wonderful spiritual community in the company of my classmates and dear friends, Kathleen and Jaron, who are also 2 awesome and powerful practitioners. My heartfelt thanks to everyone who supported me through this journey, my loving husband, Robert, my mentors and close friends, Reverend Karen and Reverend Teresa, my fellow classmates, and you, my spiritual family. In closing, I'd like to remind you to never trivialize that still small voice within when you feel its nudge compelling you to take a chance and do something new or different. That's the presence of Spirit within, calling you to greater and greater expressions of life. In the words of Ernest Holmes, if we have to make a choice and feel we do not know which or what to choose, we must be still in our own consciousness and know that the Spirit within us knows which of these ways is the right and most constructive way and will guide us. Blessings and namaste.
Good morning. I'd like to begin with my personal mission statement, which is to intentionally and consistently steep myself in spiritual practices that remind me of who and whose I truly am, to live from that truth and to serve others by sharing spiritual guidance and truth, thereby easing suffering. It is now clear to me that my own mental suffering and the hope of easing that discomfort is what propelled me to start accredited classes at the Centers for Spiritual Living. With each class I took, I was able to witness positive growth in myself and my classmates. Sometimes the shifts were huge and happened quickly. At other times, transformation occurred at a slow and steady pace. I'll admit, sometimes it is felt as though I was taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back, or that I was completely stuck. However, I have come to realize that such feelings of defeat and discouragement come about only when I'm focusing on what I can see with my human eyes, forgetting that I am a reflection of the one made of the same divine essence as the one. I sometimes get spiritual amnesia and forget there is only one life, that life is perfect, and that life is my life now. Such spiritual nearsightedness prevents us from seeing the truth of our perfect life now. And this can happen to all of us at times, no matter how long we've been in this life-affirming teaching. This is part of our humanity. Fortunately, this is where the services of a licensed practitioner can come in handy. Practitioners are trained to hold up the mirror of truth for others, to see for another the truth of who they really are when they can't see it for themselves, and to help them know that they are not their circumstances, history, or perceived inadequacies. Practitioners assist others in removing their blinders so that they can have a true and expansive perspective of themselves and their situation, be it health, relational, career, or any other concern. The consciousness of the practitioner can help another's view of themselves and their circumstances be clearly seen through the ever-expansive lens of infinite possibility. In an hour-long session with the practitioner, there is a dialogue to discover any limiting beliefs and the corresponding feelings and emotions that may be keeping the client stuck and blind to their own innate greatness. Life-affirming spiritual principles, which are immutable truths, are offered to replace life-denying and life-diminishing beliefs. Spiritual guidance and tools are presented to consciously strengthen and expand those principles in the client's lives so that anything which isn't working shrinks and atrophies. This creates clarity and freedom for the client to consciously co-create the life that they desire and then to live from the highest self in heaven on earth. As the session ends, the whole process is then solidified with spiritual mind treatment, also known as affirmative prayer. A session with a licensed practitioner is a corrective prescription for spiritual nearsightedness. Michael Bernard Beckwith, founder and director of the Agape International Spiritual Center in Los Angeles, tells us that the pain pushes until the vision pulls. In hindsight, I can see that my mental torment pushed me into taking Science of Mind classes. But as time went on, I began to experience the personal transformation offered by these classes. And I began to be pulled, some may say called, by a vision of helping others through this life-transformative teaching. My growing desire to help others ease and transcend their suffering was like a strong magnet that pulled me toward the practitioner path. And that vision, along with prayers, guidance, and support of classmates, friends, family, prayer partners, dear Reverend Karen and Reverend Teresa, kept me going through the rigorous training of the past 2 years. I consider it a great honor to pray and work for others in this healing capacity, and I really look forward to serving with my fellow practitioners, Kathleen and Jem, in a variety of ways for this community as a licensed practitioner. In truth, anyone studying and practicing the Science of Mind principles is a practitioner. We know we need to look beyond appearances to see the truth of big R reality, to experience that greater version of our life that is wanting to emerge. We're also keenly aware that this urge is true for all of humanity. And so if we listen within, we may find that we too are being called to be.